I was working on this video and I got confused. I'm an English teacher, and the English language totally confused me. I had to write out a chart to sort it out. Today we're talking about amazing English words, heteronyms. We're increasing our vocabulary, and we're talking about how crazy and confusing English can be. There are lots of reasons why English is crazy, and today we're focusing on words that look the same, but they aren't the same. Let me introduce you to my 3 nieces, triplets. Looking pretty similar, perhaps hard to tell apart by looking, but get to know them, and you get to know their aura, their being, and you see how they are different. We're going to do that today with English. Take this word for example. As a verb, it's project, 2nd syllable stress, and it means to estimate, to guess something about the future. So instead of saying, I think we'll be 2 days ahead of schedule, you could say, we project we'll be 2 days ahead of schedule. It's a next-level vocabulary word, a little more sophisticated, maybe a little more formal. As a noun, it looks the same as this. The pronunciation is different, though, and the meaning, too. Now it's project, a noun, a piece of work planned to achieve a certain goal. For example, I have a school project. I have to build a bird feeder. A project can be big. We have a big house project. We're gutting and redoing our bathroom. If you're gutting something in a house, you're tearing down most things, but not the outside walls and starting over. New flooring, fixtures, maybe moving walls, and so on. That is to gut a house for a room. It's a big project. But a project can also be small. I have a bunch of small projects to do around the house this weekend, like watering all the plants. It also means to extend out from something, to protrude. Protrude is another great vocabulary word. Look at these images of the skywalk at the Grand Canyon. It shows a walkway that extends from the building. It sticks out. It protrudes. It projects out over the canyon. These symbols that you see with the words, showing the different pronunciations, are called the International Phonetic Alphabet. And they come in really handy when you're trying to write sounds. It's definitely worth becoming familiar with the symbols for the sounds of American English. So I encourage you to download my free Sounds of American English cheat sheet. Project, to estimate. Project, a piece of work with a certain goal. Project, to stick out. One spelling looks the same. Different meanings, different uses, different pronunciations. These are called heteronyms. This is a subset of homograph. Homo or homo means same, and graph relates to writing. So these are words that are written the same spelling. Homograph. If the pronunciation is the same, that's a homonym. If the pronunciation is different, that's a heteronym, and that's what we'll study today. If the pronunciation is the same but the spelling is different, that's call it a homophony. English is full of them, and I have a very long video that goes over a lot of those. I'll put a link to that in the video description for this video. Okay. Heteronyms. I've put together a list and I'll go alphabetically. This is not an absolute complete list, and some of these words may have many definitions, and I haven't always listed each one. Some of these have related meanings. For example, house, with and s, a structure to live in. We bought a new house and are moving next month. But as a verb, house, it means to provide a home for. We house international students in our guest room. Noun with an S sound and verb with a Z sound. House, house. In this video, I'm leaving out that kind of pair where the meanings are related, and I'm focusing more on heteronyms where the meaning is completely different. Affect, feelings or emotions. He had a really flat affect. I couldn't tell if he was happy, sad, or angry. Flat affect. No expression. Affect, to make a difference to. Being around smokers affected her health and she developed asthma. That's asthma, with a silent tia. Affect. Affect, by the way. A huge thanks to all my supporters here on YouTube and my subscribers on Facebook, everyone who has joined my channel. YouTube gives you special badges to make your comments pop, early release of videos when available, access to members-only posts and videos, and the top tier gets a free monthly audio lesson. Thank you. Click join to learn more. Alternate, to switch back and forth. We alternate who gets up with the baby in the middle of the night. Alternate. A different one, or the next choice. The student that was chosen for my live class wasn't available, so I worked with an alternate student instead. Alternate. Alternate.
Address.
The location of a building.
Speech.
The direction for a piece of mail. What's your address? I'll send you a postcard. Now, here's a higher level vocabulary use for this word. To think about or deal with an issue or a problem. How do we address the issue of malnutrition in seniors? Now, as a verb, how do we address this issue? It's always address, with second syllable stress. Address. Address. Bass with the AA vowel is a kind of fish. For tonight's special, we're offering a grilled striped bass. But change the pronunciation to the AY diphthong. Bass. It's an object, an upright bass, or a bass guitar. It's also, in four-part harmony, the lowest voice. Bass, tenor, alto, soprano. And guess what? This pronunciation of bass is a homophone with this word, B-A-S-E, bass. That means they sound the same, but they're spelled differently. And this word, bass, has a lot of meanings. It means the lowest part of something. You need a strong base to support the bridge. It means the center of operations. This clothing brand is based in Los Angeles. It's one of these things that you have to touch or stand on in baseball to be safe. And because of all the baseball idioms we have, there are some idioms with this word. If you're way off base, that means you're not at the truth. You're mistaken. For example, hey guys, I solved the problem. Look, this is how we do it. No, I don't think so. I think that's still pretty off base. Or have you heard the phrase touch base? We use this all the time to check in on something or someone. For example, let's say you sell software. You have a company interested in a big purchase. You haven't heard from them in a while, so you want to check in with them. You could call them up and say, hey, I just wanted to touch base to see if you wanted to move forward, or if you have any questions I can answer. Bass, bass. Bow. It means to bend over like you may do after a performance. You may bow after playing your bass in a concert. Bow. In your hair, you may tie a pretty bow for that concert. Bow, bow. Close physical proximity. I'm not quite close enough to reach it. This is with an S, but end that with a Z. Close. It's the opposite of open. Please close the door. Close. Close. Console. A cabinet, like for a TV, a gaming device. The thing between the front seats of your car where you store... The opposite of this word is expand. Wood doors expand and contract depending on moisture and humidity. Have you ever noticed if it's really humid that you might have to work harder to close a door? That's because it has expanded a little. Also, contract, to catch or develop a disease or infection. He contracted COVID-19 at a birthday party. Contract. Contract desert. 1S, an arid region. The Sahara is the world's largest desert, but also desert. Stress changes now. Desert. To leave, to abandon. Don't desert me now. I need you. And now this pronunciation is a homophone. That is, it sounds the same, but it's spelled differently from this word, dessert, 2 S's, but it's still pronounced Z. And this is something delicious and sweet to eat at the end of a meal. I let the kids have ice cream for dessert a couple of times a week. Desert, dessert, desert. Digest, a compilation or summary of information. Golf. Digest brings together golf news from all over the world to one place. Digest. This is how your body breaks down food. Though we usually think of food for this, we can also use it with information or news, to take in and understand. I'm trying to study for a big test, but there's just so much to digest. Dove, dove, a beautiful bird. They released doves at their wedding. Dove, dove, past tense of dive. He dove into the water. Dove, dove. Incense, incense. Something that's burned for the smell it gives off. Some churches burn incense during services. But incense, incense, means to make really angry. This is a great next-level vocabulary word to use instead of mad. I snuck out after curfew and my parents were incensed. Incense, incense. Invalid, invalid. Someone who's sick a lot of the time. She's sort of an invalid and doesn't really leave the house. Invalid, invalid. Not valid, not legitimate, not legally acceptable. Your passport is an invalid form of ID because it expired. Invalid. Invalid lead, to guide. You lead the way. I don't know where I'm going. But also, lead, the chemical element. Lead poisoning in children is a problem in the Philadelphia area. And here's what's funny. The past tense of lead is pronounced eled, but it's spelled L-E-D. So L-E-D is a homophone. Sounds the same as lead the element, which is a heteronym with the present tense of L-E-D, lead. Is that confusing? Lead. Lead minute, 60 seconds. I'll be back.